Now, we do understand that the Nelson Mandela Foundation is giving a press briefing with regards to the judgment laid by Presiding Officer Phineas Mojapelo.
Nothing will actually divide us, especially our differences. That will follow the judge's final comments, that we join hands. And I'm hoping, I said to the AfriForum team, to Aaron's, that we will be reaching out to them also to say, let's try see that we build this South Africa together. We have no other home but this home, so we might as well make it work for all of us. And that's the only flag that we recognize, and that's the flag that we should all be proud of, instead of then hurling insults by using these flags that are about pain and inflicting more pain. So to you, Ernst, we're saying, please pass on this message to Kali and the other team members, that we will work with you to ensure that we do what the judge said we should do.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Just your reaction, Mr. Roots.
Good morning, afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Ernst Roots from AfriForum. Obviously, we would need time to study the judgment before we can respond comprehensively, but we can make some preliminary comments for now. As we have stated in our affidavit as well, former President Nelson Mandela said that if you take away, or if you want to take away the freedom of others, that means that you are yourself a prisoner of hatred. Now, I think the important point to stress from AfriForum's side is this judgment would not directly affect our actions, because as we've said from the beginning of this case, AfriForum does not display the old South African flag, and AfriForum actively discourages people from displaying the flag. So our involvement in this case is not because we have some urge or need to display the flag. Our concern is somewhat different. Our concern is that we have not found sufficient examples yet of government or the state dealing with social issues, albeit important social issues, through the use of the force of the rule of law, or effectively at the end of the day, the police. Our concern is that dealing with social issues like this by banning certain things, at least to a certain extent, or preventing people by law from expressing themselves in a certain way, does not change their opinions. And the problem that we believe the Nelson Mandela Foundation is trying to resolve has not been resolved by simply preventing people from expressing their views if they still hold certain views. So AfriForum's concern and involvement with this matter is because we cherish the right to freedom of expression, and we are concerned. We actually just came from another court case which deals with hate speech. We are concerned about where the line should be drawn between freedom of expression and hate speech. In our view, as we've argued in this case, displaying something, displaying a symbol, displaying a flag, even if it's a very offensive flag or a very offensive symbol, simply displaying it, in our view, is not sufficient for it to be hate speech. For it to be hate speech, it has to be coupled with some form of a call to action, to actually inflict harm or something to that effect. So that is our concern with this matter. Obviously, we have always been and we will always be open for discussion, and we would gladly take up the Nelson Mandela Foundation to engage in further discussions regarding the issue. Regarding the content of the judgment, obviously we would have to go through the judgment thoroughly and prepare what our response would be.
Mr. It's based on those comments, do you then say you do not agree with the majority judgment?
Well, if the judgment is simply that displaying a symbol is hate speech, or hate speech because of the fact that it is very offensive, that is something that we take issue with. So our preliminary reaction would be that we do not agree with the judgment. We do not agree that it would solve the issues that the Nelson Mandela Foundation are trying to solve. But as I said, we will study the judgment and then provide a more comprehensive response.
Mr. Atan, just your reaction or clarification of people who might want to understand what this means. For example, can people display it in their homes, as some people might do?
You know, you're asking a very interesting question, because we actually have been approached by a family. And next week we'll be engaging a family which have the flag in their home. And I think it's important that, maybe I should take a step back, that the judgment is very clear, that we did not say the flag should be banned. And I want to use this again, and I want to emphasize that we did not say that. And the judge did not say the flag is banned. He said gratuitous display, if it's not for art, for artistic purposes, if it's not for dramatic, whatever you want to then communicate, you can. But where you just, because you are disaffected, because you hold some opinion, and you want to then display the flag, the judgment is clear that in that case you are causing hurt, you are causing harm, and the judge in fact decoupled these things. And of course I'm relying here on our attorney who's here, Rupert Kendi, who actually can give a greater a better explanation of this. So people can display the flag, except of course in an instance where a domestic worker then finds it offensive. I can imagine that my mother would find it offensive because of what I said about the history that we have. And until such time that we actually acknowledge that kind of pain, we're going nowhere. Because we're then going to argue that this does not help in building South Africa that we want. This is a building block. It's a process, a long process. It can't be that 25 years on, we're still arguing whether you can display the flag or not. It should find it in many South Africans' hearts to say, actually, it's not right.
Is it clear, if you can call it punishment, what punishment people could face if they do go against it?
The judge again was clear. He said it's not for the police. And again, I'm urging AfriForum to read the judgment clearly. He said this is not for the police. It's for people to then know that there will be some kind of a fine. So we're not asking for some custodial judgment to be passed on people, criminality that would then be passed on. And in fact, both Rupert Kendi and Tembeka Ngugaitobi were clear that it's not in our interest as the Nelson Mandela Foundation to now suddenly find people being imprisoned for that. Is to then have some kind of other ways of ensuring that there's some community work that you can do and to also atone for what you've done.
Okay, anyone more? Okay.
Well, that's the Nelson Mandela Foundation CEO, Sello Hatang, and AfriForum CEO, Ernest Roos, giving a press briefing just outside of the Equality Court. Ernest Roos, they're coming in from AfriForum, saying they have clear concerns with regards to what is now the judgment against the gratuitous display of the flag, saying that they still need to study the judgment. However, they do raise concerns between the line, or rather regarding the line between freedom of expression and hate speech. Of course, Sello Hatang reiterating that they are not, of course, condoning the banning, the overall banning of the apartheid flag. They can be still used for public interest. It could be used for artistic interest. However, it should not be one that aims to harm and remind of the past that, of course, South Africa has in democracy and politically, rather.